Hey guys, I want to get right to the chase. This is a new series we're going to do for youth group called Weekly Word, where our youth leaders are going to present a passage of scripture, maybe just one verse, to you each week. We wanted to just share what God has laid on our hearts. But starting out this week, I wanted to share with you 1 Timothy 4:12. I share 1 Timothy 4:12 because it really is applied a lot of times to young people. It says, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." Now, as I was thinking about this verse, I kind of thought of a story too. Have you guys ever heard of the story of the Emperor's New Clothes? This is a story where these guys who are con men come to this place where this emperor lives. And they say, oh, they can make the most beautiful clothes, the most beautiful robes for the emperor because he has a parade that's coming up. And when they start to make these clothes, they say it's invisible to anyone but like the best people, the wisest people, the smartest. I don't really remember what, but it's invisible. And so no one can see it because they're not making anything. But everyone in the palace, the emperor even is like, oh, it's so beautiful, it's wonderful, because they're ashamed of if they say, I can't see anything, that they would be the stupidest person or the dumbest, or they wouldn't be the wisest. And so they make this robe, and the emperor goes on a parade and walks down the street, and everyone else has heard about this, and they're calling out, oh, it's beautiful, it's a wonderful coat, it's awesome, until one young child says, but the emperor's not wearing any clothes. He was the one who could be honest enough to put all the adults to shame and say the truth of what was really happening. The emperor had been tricked. And because that child was able to say that, then everyone knew the truth. Everyone realized they had been duped. So don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. Now, we can read that and think like, oh yeah, that kid must have felt like, don't let anyone look down on me because I'm young. But really, that's not the point for us to look at this and pridefully think, I'm young, don't look down on me. I can do things, I'm smart, I'm capable, don't look down on me, and kind of take that to others. Then we're lifting ourselves up on a little bit too much of a pedestal. No, that's not what this verse is trying to say, this to come pridefully and say, don't look down on me. No. You see, in the context of what this verse was written, it was written by Paul, the Apostle Paul, in the book of 1 Timothy. Now, Timothy was a young man who Paul had seen, who was passionate about the gospel, who had been trained up by his mom and grandma, and he was someone that Paul said, come along with me on my journeys. Now, Paul had also heard in Ephesus then about some wrong things that were happening in the church in Ephesus. So he says, Timothy, go to Ephesus and handle what's going on there. And so he trusts Timothy as a young man to go and do this. And then he sends up this letter to Timothy, encouraging him in the teaching he was supposed to give at Ephesus. And he follows up with another letter called 2 Timothy. So what he is saying is, when you're sharing the truth, because the people in Ephesus had really messed up some of the basic things of the gospel. They were adding in extra rules and looking at the Old Testament saying, we can't eat meat and we're not allowed to get married because of these rules or laws. And they had forgotten the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so Timothy was supposed to bring the gospel back to them. He was sent by Paul in Ephesus to bring them back from drifting from the truth of the gospel, the good news about what Jesus has done for them, that he paid the price. They don't have to fulfill a law, but they should live in a way that's honoring to them. He encourages Timothy not just to preach the truth and share the truth, but live it. And I think that's a really cool thing that applies to our lives. I want to read this in another paraphrased edition of 2 Timothy 4:12. It It says, don't let anyone think little of you because you're young. Be their ideal. Let them follow the way you teach and live. Be a pattern for them in your love, your faith, and your clean thoughts. I really like how that says in that version, be their ideal. What Paul is encouraging Timothy to do is be the ideal. Don't just preach it and not live it too. Do it in the way that you love other people. I mean, it's so hard for us to be kind sometimes. We get stressed or self-focused and can be hurt by others. And man, what he's saying here is that young people love each other. Preach the truth and then show it in your love. Show it in your faith. Trust God. Trust God in every situation. Lean on Him. Go to Him in prayer and look into His word. Trust in what it says. And live out what it says. Be pure. In purity it ends with here. So let our thoughts be that of God. Let what we take in, what we watch, what we read, what we listen to, let that be pure. So that when people look at us, we can walk into a room, we can be a breath of fresh air because we're preaching, saying the truth of the gospel, and we're living it evidently in our lives. That's the word for the week. Guys, hopefully you're going to enjoy this time that we set aside to do this each week, and you'll hear from each one of our leaders. But this is just the first, and hopefully you'll enjoy the next couple videos. Have a good week.